Greetings and salutations, brownies. Welcome to another episode of Just Jazz Vlogs. Alright, so today is going to be a whole big rant. I did one for when I was in Anaheim for VidCon and how I was mistreated at the hotel. Also, just like a quick recap, I'll put the link to the video in the description below if you want to know what happened with that incident. But upon further research and, weeks after VidCon, I am finding that more people had issues with the same hotel that were creators and such for VidCon. So it's good to know I'm not the only one. Anyway, moving on, let's get past that and to the real issue. I take public transportation everywhere. I cannot drive. I am legally blind, and even though the doctor hasn't said one way or the other if I can or cannot drive, I have decided to not, for the sake of all the other people on the road and my safety as well. I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want to hurt myself, so I opted out of it. So public transportation and Uber are my way of life. I take an inner city train called the Regional Rail into town to get to my office, and I take it back out of town because the transportation center is just a few blocks from my house. So, in order to get on the train, there are platforms on each side of the transportation center. One going into the city and one coming out of the city. Now, the elevator going into the city to get to the platform is fine. The elevator getting out of the city is not. It's broken. So for the past almost 3 weeks, I have had to. I can get into the city fine, but coming out, I usually have to take 2 or 3 other forms of transportation just to get back to my house. A 30-minute ride on the train has turned into a 90-minute ordeal, which makes absolutely no sense. So I remember I asked the people at the transportation center, when is the elevator going to be fixed? They said indefinitely. And I said indefinitely is not an answer. I need to know now. I need to know when it's going to be fixed. And they said, yeah, we'll keep you updated on that. I'm like, no, that's not good enough. You need to tell me more. They haven't told me any more. Now, flash forward to yesterday. I decided that instead of taking the 2 to 3 forms of transportation back to my house like I usually do, I would take the train that I get to get into the city, go past my house, and then cross on the other side of the platform, and then take that train back to my transportation on the same side as the working elevator. I get to my destination, my first stop, to get off. Now, I had never been to this transportation center before, but the bus guide said that it was wheelchair accessible. I get there, and it's basically like a stair lift. In order to get from one side to the other, you have to go underground. Now, there's steps, and then there's this lift next to it, and it's like a stair lift that goes all the way around. This woman who had to come in on her day off and try to fix it said it had been there since the 1980s, and it's a hit or miss if it works or not. And guess what? On the day that I want to use it is when it's a miss. And now I'm stuck in another part of town with no way to get back home. And I'm telling this woman, I'm like, why doesn't it work? Why don't you guys check these things? They're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, you need to know. You need to know what's wrong with your system. She's like, well, can't you call an Uber back to your house? So I tried to get an Uber. Now here's the thing about Ubers in my town. There are not a lot of wheelchair accessible Ubers. And if there are, they're usually hanging around the city and not on the outskirts, because that's where I guess they make the most money. There was no wheelchair accessible Uber in my area at the time, nor a Lyft. And by this time, I had been sitting at this transportation center for over an hour, and the 2 trains that I could have gotten on if the lift were working had come and gone already. And I'm still sitting there. And I look at this woman, and I said, well, what am I supposed to do? Long story short, to kind of end this story, I had to get on one bus from the transportation center that literally took me up the road and down the street in order for me to get on another bus to take it to a mall. Then I had to get on that bus from the mall, which takes me to my house. So I kid you not, I took a train, spent an hour at the transportation center for this woman to tell me that the lift didn't work. And then I had to take 3 forms of Septa bus to get to my house. I left my office at 5 o'clock p.m. I did not get back into my house until 8:45. Are you fucking kidding me? That is absolutely ridiculous and should not have happened. Shame on you, Septa. Shame on all of you for not checking your equipment and making sure things are running smoothly. I've had several issues with my transportation service over the years. I have had people who have taken a bus, written up, looked at me because they didn't want to get off their butts and pull the ramp out and get me on the bus. Just shake their heads and keep driving away. I've had people leave me because they did not want to get off their butts and do the little extra work that it takes to secure a wheelchair onto the bus. Why can't they just check and make sure all their equipment is working? I remember one time I asked this person, why can't you check your equipment? And they said, oh, well, we don't have a lot of wheelchairs in this area. So after a while, we just don't bother. And I'm like, well, look what's happening now. You have somebody, just because there may not be a lot of accessible, just because there are not a lot of people in wheelchairs doesn't mean that your stuff should not be up to date. That's my rant for today. I always want to give you guys an open and honest view of my life and some of the things that happen. And this is one of them. Unfortunately, this happens to me quite a bit. I choose not to talk about it all the time, but it's what it is. And I'm getting sick and tired of it, and I think it's about time that I start standing up for myself. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment below with some of your thoughts. Have you ever had an experience where you were majorly inconvenienced because of situations that could have been handled but weren't? Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click that notification bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I post something, because we know YouTube's now doing a good job of it. And with that being said, have a fantastic day and stay blessed. Goodbye.